You are listening to The Manual with Mike Sheridan. The opinions expressed here are purely that of the individuals in question and can sometimes be of an adult nature.
We're joined on The Manual now by Dr. Fionnula McHale.
Hello.
Did I pronounce that properly?
Perfect.
Scooch a little bit closer just to the microphone there, so
Awesome.
the lovely people at home can hear you.
Great.
And I have to say, I'm not shocked as you came into the office there. You've come from the gym.
That's right.
Obviously.
Always.
How many hours a day do you spend in the gym? We'll go into all the other ridiculously overachieving stuff that you've done with your life. But how many times a week are you in the gym, and how many times a day?
I generally try to keep it to 5 days a week. Now, some days it might be twice
right.
a day. Yeah, exactly. Some days, it depends what I'm doing. So, I was doing a photo shoot a few weeks ago. So then it was pretty much 6 days a week, and it could have been twice a day. Most of those days between getting the cardio in the morning time and then the weight sessions in the afternoon. So
because you've got a fairly intense job.
Yeah.
And I know you do a couple of things as well, but you're a doctor of functional medicine.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you travel all over the world doing this as well. So
Yeah.
I'll ask how you fit all the training in to be in the shape that you're in. But first of all, what's the what actually is functional medicine? I said this to you beforehand. You were like, functional medicine.
Yeah. So again, that's the same reaction from everyone as what is functional medicine. So what effectively it is, it's a nutrition-based specialty. And what I suppose the best way to describe it is by comparing it to what a GP does. So it's not a replacement for a GP, but it's a different approach. So whereas, let's say, a GP will see you for a few minutes, they'll figure out what your symptoms are and diagnose you with something and give you medication. I'm kind of spending a lot more time with the client in the sense that it might be an hour and trying to determine what are the causes of underlying illnesses. So, for example, it might be someone who has digestive disorders. I'm trying to figure out why they might have that digestive disorder rather than just saying, okay, they have constipation, they have bloating, so I'm going to give them a medication to help that. I'm trying to figure out why they developed that so that I can fix it. So whether it's a case that maybe they have imbalance of the gut flora or they have problems with breaking down foods, that might be a cause of someone who has IBS. So that's just one example, and that's in someone who might be unwell. So helping them overcome those illnesses and making sure that they don't need medication for the rest of their life.
So it's over a long period of time. It's not like somebody just coming in off the street and fix me like they would with a GP.
Exactly. It's not someone who's acutely unwell. It's someone who has more of a chronic disorder. Now, also, I suppose that's part of what I do, and when I started off that was a lot of what I do, but I suppose more of what I do now is looking at people, I suppose, who maybe are walking around 80% in the sense that energy levels maybe not great.
I'd take 80% right now.
Yeah, our sleep is
that's not good.
Yeah, for sure. So trying to get I suppose optimize health is how I'd say. Optimize health so that people can be functioning at 100%. So again, it's something that I've learned over time to I look at things like the nutrition as one aspect, looking at supplements as another, exercise obviously as a tool, and mindset, recovery, looking at psychological techniques as well, because it's holistic. That approach. It's integrative, and I suppose the reason it's so I have been so successful in terms of working with clients is because I have tests. So tests that really back up what I do, tests that are there to determine the underlying causes of why is someone not sleeping, or why is someone not performing on the pitch, or why is someone not dropping body fat. We have tests to figure that out, so it takes the guesswork out of nutrition.
So you need people kind of operating at their optimal level. So do you work with a lot of athletes?
A lot of athletes, yeah. So again, I've worked in a whole variety of sports because again, when I started out, I kind of realised that nutrition wasn't going to be enough. So I went into strength and conditioning, which is something that I loved myself. It was my passion. So again, I got to travel the world and met a lot of people. So, I've worked with in parts of the NFL, worked with obviously the UFC a little bit, a lot of physique athletes, people who I suppose are looking at body composition, swimming, track and fields, a lot of sports. And I love that side of things.
I was going to ask, so typically, because you're anybody, we'll throw a link up to your Instagram as well. It's incredibly motivational, but it's also you get a little bit jealous as well because you're all over the world, traveling the world. What is what's a general scenario for you when you go to? I know you were in Vegas there recently, but you're in Miami a lot. What's the general scenario when you go to see a client somewhere?
So I do different things. So the travel, I suppose, is I might go see a client. It might be so we have a lot of wealthy clients around the world, because obviously it's an expensive service as well. But to kind of a lot of depends what their goal is. So most people is kind of body composition or sports performance. So I'll go see them for a consultation, get the tests, and I suppose it's being able to interpret those tests as well is something that I've learned over the years, and doesn't happen overnight. And an injection. So a lot of people, you know, their gut, I guess, doesn't work very well in terms of being able to absorb nutrients. So the multivitamin injections have really, I suppose, transformed my practice and my health as well. So the injections is another side of it.
And what do you mean by body composition? Is that people who, like, again, I'm a moron.
Yeah.
Is that people? Is that people who? And obviously, I want you to correct me, but is that people who are trying to look good? Is that an aesthetic thing?
Yeah, exactly. So you're looking at, I suppose. Again, it's something that I've learned as well. So
some loaded bloke sitting across in Singapore going, I want a 6-pack, call Fionnula.
Yeah, so again, it's like what I've learned recently is obviously to get lean is to drop body fat and keep muscle mass. But especially from a female and indeed a male, like it's not enough for most people to just be lean, and being completely shredded is not necessarily attractive. It's not necessarily something that you go on the beach, okay, they're shredded, but does the female have a nice figure?
Yeah.
Do they have the nice shoulders? Do they have a nice little waist? A nice glutes is what the female always wants. So again, it's sculpting that aesthetic physique. And like for guys, you know, they want to have the nice big lats so that the waist comes in. It's how does the body look? And again, that's something that I absolutely love, is, you know, being able to kind of work on those body parts and see your body transform rather than just being shredded, because, you know, like
anybody can lift weights and
we cannot, like, and obviously I come from a strength training background, so learning that has been another part of the progression of what I'm doing as well.
So let's go back there for a second, because was it traditional medicine that you graduated? You went to Trinity. Was it traditional medicine that you did, and why did you segue into this?
Yeah, so I did medicine in Trinity. Qualified, did my internship, and then worked in orthopedics for a little while. Did a few specialties, but there was kind of nothing really that was hitting like really that interested. Not that it didn't interest me, but
it wasn't a passion for you.
No, it wasn't passion. Yeah. So throughout college, like, I actually got sick, and I suppose it was incredibly frustrating. You can imagine that you're in medicine studying, and you're studying, like, I went into medicine because I like to help people, you know, and whatever I can, like, again, that's why I love what I do. I love seeing people change and be happy. So I was sick, and I was going to the GP, and I wasn't getting any better, and I was just kind of told, you know, take medication, and I kind of came from a very sciencey background, like, you know, I did young scientist, I did all of these things, and you learn about the body and how there's so many different processes going on in the body, and I couldn't understand how it was so being so simple. You're
studying this, there's something wrong with you, you're trying to figure out,
and nobody can help me.
So it's frustrating.
Like, I mean, I'm more than happy to talk about it. I had digestive disorder, I had severe acne, like, I mean, in the sense that it was something that really affected my confidence, and that wasn't good. And
this is while you were in college? Was it studying medicine?
No, I went into medicine. My granddad had cancer, and I thought I was going to be able to save the world and save him. He since passed away, but as my parents were divorced and things, he was like a father to me, so I wanted to go in to help him. But that you know,
he was obviously inspired you, though.
Yeah, massive inspiration. Like he really was. And so I obviously got frustrated by that. Started to do kind of my own research. I went to the States and studied functional medicine. I've been doing kind of learning a little bit about strength and conditioning as well, and met Charles Poliquin, who you may or may not be familiar with, but I've been doing the kind of two things at the same time, functional medicine, strength and conditioning, and obviously I loved all of it. It was the type of thing where, okay, college, I could just have to get through the exams, but, you know, I'm spending my spare time learning about nutrition.
Were you naturally studious that you could get through the exams? You knew you put X amount of work in, but you could kind of pursue the side passion as well.
Yeah, it was always like, I always knew what I had to do to get something done. Like, I mean, I always, like, even with the Leaving Cert, like, I knew, okay, if I have to get 600 points, I'm going to have to study on the weekends, and I'm going to have to study through the summer.
Oh, we differ there, Fionnula.
Yeah. So, you know, like, I know it has to be done, and I'll do it. Like, you know, I'll work hard to get it done. So I got through the exams, but by no means was it something I particularly enjoyed. I knew it had to be done, so I just did it. But again, like I just loved this. Like, I mean, this for me is like, oh my gosh, like this.
You get to do this for a living.
Yeah. I just loved it. And then obviously it was something different and it's something new, and at the time, you know, like your parents are like, oh, what is she doing? She's mad, like going off doing this nutrition
Where did you
stuff.
go and study in the US?
Yeah, so in Florida was where I did a lot of it. Nice place to go. I did a
bit of sun
in UK as well. It was kind of a lot of, you know, self-directed stuff as well, because it's the type of thing where you can't just read a book. You know, you don't just learn that sort of stuff from a book, and you have to go in and do tests with people. So I started up kind of working with people very early, and then build the practice up while I was still in hospital, working in hospital, because that's how I was getting good at things. I was looking at tests, seeing the feedback from the clients, seeing how well they were doing, progressing it, and using different techniques. And again, I'm still learning from people. Yeah. You know, I'll still come across a case, I'm like, oh, you know, I'm not really sure what to do here. So
is that inspiring to you as well, when you see to kind of motivate you?
Yeah, it's so exciting as well, because like everyone's different, and like that's what's so individual about it, is because everyone really is different, and it's like everyone's tests are going to be different. So it's so stimulating, like from like an intellectual side of things, because you constantly have to be on your feet, you constantly have to be learning, you constantly have to be researching, and yeah, I love that. Like, yeah.
And you've obviously got a certain mindset just from listening to you there even for a couple of minutes. Have you always had that? We had Aisling Daly on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, and talking to her about how she was training to be a UFC fighter when there was no, well, trained to be an MMA fighter, but to reach the highest echelon, which was the UFC, when there was no UFC women's division. So there's obviously a similar mindset there with you, where you're like, I need to keep all these plates spinning, but there's an end goal at the end of this.
Yeah, I mean, like at the end of the day, the end goal is being able to help people. You know, and like, I mean, that probably sounds so cringy, but like, even I was
not if you mean it, doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, like even today, like I was doing an injection for someone, and he was asking me like, oh, what is it? I was saying, you know, I'd love to do more of them, and he said, what is it that you love about it? It's not kind of a bit mind numbing. And I was like, no, because it's like you see someone coming in, and someone might have really bad anxiety, and like, you know, they come from work and they're really stressed, and you know, you can see the panic in their face, and like it's the type of thing where like, you know, midway through it, they're relaxed, they're feeling good, like, you know, they're laughing, like they go out of the office and they feel so happy. Like, I mean, that just like, oh my, like that makes it so worthwhile. Like, you know, I love it. Yeah. But absolutely, mindset has always been something that I think is really important. So I think someone was asking me about this recently as well. And I suppose, have you done any reading around mindset?
Not really. I mean, for certain, like I've done ultramarathons, and I've had like a sports psychologist. I've had conversations with sports psychologists. Yeah. And I spoke about that with Aisling. She was the same sports psychologist that she talks to. So, and the one-on-one I had with David Mullins, who's phenomenal at what he does. Yeah. And he would delve into a bit of that, because I was going and partaking in a fight on very short notice, like an idiot. So he was more fascinated by me than anything else. Yeah. But I was like, I'm not sure if my brain can wrap around what he's saying. Yeah. You know, I'd been used to running long distances and doing endurance events, and I was going, I just distract myself for hours as opposed to what you need to do, which is be in the zone for something like MMA. Sure. So do you find that that's, you know, certain people are more susceptible to it?
Yeah, so like if you've read it, there's a book called Mindset by Carol Dweck. I'm not sure about the pronunciation, but it was recommended to me by a guy called Martin Garvey, who works for Motivator, a company I'm also involved with, which is a great company to be involved with, by the way. But it talks about kind of difference between growth mindset and fixed mindset. And I think like the way I was brought up, like I said, my parents split at a young age, so it was just myself, my mum, and my three brothers. So, it wasn't like an easy. It was difficult, but
are the older brothers over there? Are you in the middle?
Yeah. Younger. So,
so you were kicking them around the place.
Yeah, but I always grew up like, and this is probably like, I mean, my mom like has been so instrumental in my success. Like, I always grew up knowing that I could do something. It's like I always knew that, okay, it might not be easy, or I may not be suited to this, but I know that if I work really hard, I'll be able to do it. So like I always like, you know, I knew medicine was going to be a challenge. I knew it was tough to get the points, but I knew, okay, well, like I'll just have to do this.
Well, for a lot of people, medicine is the ultimate challenge. Like that's the bar. Like you know, we're looking at the points and looking at the time you have.
And I always set this high, like my sights high. Like I'd always say, okay, well, like even with powerlifting, I was like, okay, I won the Euros, but I still want to win the Worlds. Yeah. And even now, having gone second at the Worlds, I'm like, oh, it's still in the back of my mind. Should I do this in November? I'm not really sure. Or you know, even with the business, I'm like, okay, I have done well here, but maybe I want to take it that little bit further, or
Yeah.
you know, like I do these presentations with Motivate. You know, we travel all over the world, kind of helping corporates, like, you know, achieve peak performance in the workplace using the same tools that I would do in the practice. So even with those, I'm like, okay, I did a really good presentation, but like I want to make it better the next time. And it's like, even I was coaching, I do some coaching as well. When I have time.
I seen you in the gym there putting somebody through their paces recently. It was intense.
Yeah,
I didn't want to interrupt.
What was that now?
I don't know. You had somebody doing strength conditioning or
Vinny,
something. You were
was
like,
it?
you had somebody pushing a Slayer on. I'm staying away from that.
Oh, it's
not
Vinny.
standing near either of those two. That looks too hard.
Yeah, so that was probably Vinny. But where was I going with that? But yeah, so I remember that we were doing, it's myself and Vinny in his gym in Changing
This is Vinny
Rooms.
Goff, is it?
Vinny Goff, yeah. So he has a gym called Changing Rooms on Leeson Street. And we were doing group sessions, and there's one guy who was training and he was squatting and he was like, I can't do it, and I was like, you can do it, it's just gonna hurt. So it's like that, you know,
It's a case of how much pain you can put up
it's
with.
even with training, you know, it's like, okay, the training is really hard, but like, I know I'm going to be able to do it. You know, it's like I always say, you have two options when there's a barbell in front of you, and like, again, like from powerlifting, might be 150 kilos, and you can go up to that bar and say, oh God, I've never done this before. I'm not really sure if I'm going to be able to lift it. Like, you know, it's really heavy. I've only ever done 140 before. Or you can go up to it and say, well, like I did 140 before. I got it up. So, you know, I've done loads of training in the past. So there's a pretty good chance I'm going to get this up. You know, that's the difference, isn't it? Like, and it's the same, like I always say, like work ethic in the gym translates to work ethic in life. Yeah. You know, and it really does. So, it is. Mindset is so important.
Yeah.
It really is.
Would you have quite an analytical mind as well? So would you be looking at YouTube videos and for form and everything else before you go and tackle it, or would you be like, fuck it, I'm just gonna go and tackle this?
Yeah, no, I would be quite analytical, but at the same time, you know, like if it's a deadlift,
does not too many analytical things about a deadlift.
I'm just getting that bar off the ground.
Keep it simple.
Whatever way it takes, like I'm going to get the bar off the ground.
And you mentioned the powerlifting there as well. What exactly have you done? You came second. You won the Europeans.
Yeah,
and you came
I won
second
the Europeans 2 years in a row, and got second at the World Championships, and then I got injured. So that was tough. And
you were prepping for that last year for this year.
I won it the second Euros in May of last year, and then it was planned to do the Worlds in November. But I got a disc injury, so that was tough. Like, and I probably tried to ignore it for too long as a. But you know what? Like, it's actually changed my training massively in the sense that now I've kind of gone more towards the physique side of things. And again, like it's like the thing. I always love like learning new things, and I suppose I've learned to use strength and conditioning in a different way.
Yeah.
So in a different way that I'm trying to develop like my figure, as opposed to just focusing on strength now. And
so you were going to do the Worlds, you were going to do the powerlifting for the Worlds, which is a completely different physique to what you have now.
Yeah.
And so you decided then to do a fitness show. Is that it?
Yeah. So actually, it's myself and my friend Vinny Goff. Actually, like he's in amazing shape. he
just won.
I was helping him actually prep for the NIFMA show, which is Northern Ireland Fitness Models Association, and it was when I got the MRI report. I think a week before, maybe a week and a half before he was doing that show. And yeah, it was bad. So I was like, I'm not going to Moldova. So I said, you know what, I'm super lean. I was probably like, I think I was reading 5% on the
is that not insane, especially for a woman?
For a female,
yeah.
It is. But like, obviously, I know the right things to do.
Yeah, you're doing it in the most healthy way possible.
And I've been doing it a long time as well. And like, I've always been lean. It's just I might get really shredded for a certain period of time, usually in the summer, and then I'll get a little bit fatter, and it goes up and down.
I think your level or what you're saying is fat will be different than
mine.
mine.
That's the thing. Like, I always have abs. It's just they look more shredded sometimes. Like, because the diet always has been good since I started to learn a little bit more. But
so you decided, okay, I can't lift crazy amounts here to a competitive world level because of the injury, so I'm just going to go and do a fitness show.
So I did the show with Vinny. I got second in the muscle and the Miss Muscle and Miss Fitness, I think.
And this is your first show?
Yeah.
With how much prep?
A week and a half.
And you got second?
Yeah.
They must have hated you.
I found it really tough. Like, I have to admit, like, I mean, I really, really struggled because, like, it's not just the it's not just the being in good shape. Like, I mean, it is, you do have to have a figure, and I didn't, like, I mean, even they said, you know, like, I just looked like an athlete that got on stage, which it was. But the posing, oh God, the posing really, like, I find that really tough.
There's an art to the posing, isn't there?
Oh,
anybody who's watched Pump and Iron or anything knows.
Yeah, I know, but the thing is, that's actually like a training session in itself. I mean, to be able to keep the tension in the muscle and to be able to present it in the right way. Even for me, the biggest problem I had was, so from powerlifting, you're so used to blowing out the abs, you know, like you keep in tension and all the rest. Whereas for physique, you want to be sucking everything in, and I found it was like the opposite of what I was used to. You know, I'm used to like the squat suit and chalk. It's messy.
It's a bit messier, yeah.
And like the fitness is a little bit more glamorous. It's like,
is competing though, like when you break it down, is it the same? Is it still the pre-show nerves? Is it the
yeah?
Or does your brain not work that way?
No, I do get very nervous, but
that's good though, isn't it?
Yeah, I think for me, I wasn't as passionate about being on stage as I was with the powerlifting.
Because you just thought this is something to kind of keep my brain occupied, to keep me training,
I like having
motivated.
a goal. I like having something to work towards, but I miss the performance side of things.
Yeah,
because I came from swimming, like, you know, initially. Obviously that's changed slightly in the sense that the type of training I'm doing now means I can do my job as well. So powerlifting is very demanding on the nervous system. I'm getting older, and I didn't want to be injured. I didn't want to be in bed at night.
Yeah, bad back or whatever.
So, this type of training now is good because it keeps me injury free. It keeps me pretty healthy, and I can keep awake all day without feeling like I'm zonked by 7 o'clock in the evening. So that's
see, this is it as well. So do you do the vitamin infusions on yourself too? So you were saying that's huge. It's obviously one of the major benefits is energy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's amazing with energy because I see you in the gym all the time.
Yeah,
and it doesn't matter what time I go there. And I don't go as much as you, obviously, but it doesn't matter what time I go there. You seem to be there, and you're obviously running like numerous successful things going on.
Yeah.
Obviously, the vitamin infusions are giving you insane amounts of energy as well, or on top of everything else.
Yeah, but again, like the thing is, I'll always make time for the gym.
Yeah.
Because like that's just the way I've always been. You know, like my health is important to me. Always has been. So I'll always make time to go to the gym. Even like when we go on these trips with Motivate, the great thing about working with that company is we all practice what we preach. So you go and travel, and everyone's kind of like, okay, well, like this is where we're going. So where's the nearest gym?
I'd be the guy going, I'm going to have a Snickers for breakfast.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. I'm not to take us all down or anything.
Yeah.
Like,
but like that's good. And even with food, like, I mean, I'll always be prepared. So with traveling, again, you learn all these things, and these are good. Like, I mean, that's part of like what I again can help clients with, because I do all these things as well. Like, I'm working a stressful job, I'm traveling all the time, but you make it work, like in the sense of if I'm going to the airport, I'll always have meals prepared. If I'm going to the States, I know there's customs in before you get to the plane, so you can't have meat and fish. So how am I going to work around that? I know I can go to Rights of Holt and get smoked salmon and bring it on. I have powders that I can mix up in my shaker. Like I've thought of everything, you know, and that's what makes the difference. That's why I have abs all the time. People are like, oh, it's because of this, it's because of that. Like the injections are like a nice top up, but they're not the bread and butter.
You're constantly on the go. That's when it really kick and when it really helps. Like.
Yeah, or like from jet lag, or you know, if it is the case that I'm doing a photo shoot, you know, like it keeps the energy levels up when the calories have to drop that little bit. And
you did the photo shoot recently, sorry, and we can see that on your Instagram. We'll throw a link up to your Instagram in the piece as well. And with that, did you do the photo shoot as a way of kind of motivating yourself, or just a way of testing yourself? Yeah,
it was definitely a test for myself, and I really enjoyed it. Yeah, that's been one of the best things I've done, like in the year, I'd say. Just
to challenge yourself again in a different way.
Yeah, really like challenge myself, and it's something out of my comfort zone as well. So again, like I said, I'm used to swimming. It's not very glamorous. I'm used to powerlifting, which is definitely not glamorous. You wear a belt and your straps and so it was like, yeah, definitely, like, again, working on my figure, and again, it was a case that I wanted to be able to inspire other females to kind of do this type of training, because that's what I love. Like, you know, like not everyone wants to lift 150 kilos and look like a beast.
Everyone can.
Yeah, exactly. Not everyone can. But again, like, no female really wants to have people go around, oh, Fionnula's a beast. Like, I'm like, oh, still a girl. Like, I still do like hair, makeup, and that sort of stuff. So, yeah, it was nice. And like, again, there is a different type of training in the sense that it's quite intellectual. I think people don't realize that about even the people look at bodybuilders and think, oh, they're just meatheads. Like, that type of training, you really have to be so disciplined. It's not necessarily disciplined. Yeah, you have to be disciplined because you have to do the nutrition, you have to do supplements, you have to do sleep is another thing. You have to be careful of how much you're working, because if you get too stressed, the body fat goes a little bit up. But the type of training, you have to be so you have to concentrate so hard on that type of training to maintain tension in the right muscle all the time. You can't, when that pain builds up in the muscle, you can't just let the tension go, otherwise you're wasting your time, you know. Even in terms of me learning a different type of training, so I might be able to squat 100 kilos for reps, but am I keeping tension in the muscle? You know, are you keeping the muscle under tension?
Just when it gets into the science of it.
Yeah, that's how it's so different in terms of a type of training. So with the strength training, let's say, you can just up and down with the bar, you block it out, oh yeah, it's sore, but you block it out. And yeah, that's tough. By all means, that's tough. But physique is different because you have to keep the tension on the muscle. It's time under tension, not time under load. And I suppose that's really made a big difference to me. And it's something... like when you're training, like you do have to be so switched on.
You feel like as well though, because you do kind of get that. You do kind of get, you'll see somebody who's in phenomenal shape, and it might be with lads in the gym as well. They're just going to be like, oh, it's just a meathead, or it's just whatever.
For sure.
So does that piss you off? Is that kind of like you have no idea?
Yeah, I know. This is the thing. Like, so, like, say for my like I was saying about Vinny Goff, like, you know, he just won the World Championships, but and yeah, a certain component is genetics. Like, he's a tall frame, he's long arms, long limbs, which obviously aesthetically is going to make him look better. But like, again, I've learned so much from him, and he's really helped me as well understand that himself, and a guy called Mark Coles in the UK, Nottingham. So during the year I met himself and Ben Pekulski, who's have you heard of Ben?
I've heard of him, yeah.
Yes, so those two, like, they're amazing, and they both do bodybuilding, and Mark Coles owns an amazing gym in the UK called M10, one of my favorite places to train. But learned a lot from him and from Vinny, mainly because he's my best friend. So he has this incredible ability to really switch on a muscle, to be able to kind of tap into, again, it's the mind muscle connection as well, being able to tap into those muscle fibers and develop them. So from Vinny winning the Europeans, the WBFF in Denmark, to then going on to Vegas, his shoulders weren't good, but he can
compared to the level he needed to
to win the worlds, like, you know. So he has this great ability, like you said, to just tap into the muscle fibers to be able to keep tension. And he was always the person telling me, like, don't go up on weight, like, you're not keeping the tension, like, always in the back of my mind, I'm like, yeah, let's go heavier, let's go heavier.
And is that the difference between somebody who goes and wins something like that, or somebody who competes and maybe just competes?
Yeah, exactly. It's knowing, it's having that mind muscle connection and being able, again, it's so difficult when that pain builds up in the muscle, and all you want to do is just keep banging out the reps. But are you doing the reps in the right way, that the right muscle is under tension? So for example, like if you're doing shoulders, most people will get tired and they'll just use the traps. So then they end up with these overdeveloped traps and the shoulders aren't developed. It doesn't look nice aesthetically. But being able to, it's just... Do
you see people doing stuff wrong in the gym all the
time? Like, no, the funniest one is lateral raises. So that's like, oh no, like there's nothing happening in the deltoid muscle. Right in front of the mirror. It's just like up and down. It's like, oh, are they going for like a fly or something? So it's like being able to, like most people don't need that amount of weight. Because let's face it, most people are in the gym because they want to look good. Yeah. Not because they want to be powerlifters, or not because they want to lift more weight. Like it's about, they want to look better. And regardless of what you say, that's all bodybuilding. Yeah. You know, and
there's obviously there's a million spinning plates involved with that. Yeah, it's not just lifting weights to a certain level, certain reps, certain sets. It's something else entirely.
At the end of the day, like, the programming is neither here. It's obviously really important as well, but it's so important that you're doing exercise execution. Let's say is 100%. So like if you're doing a lateral raise, you have to be using the shoulder. So is it a case, like, obviously everyone's like physically slightly different, so they might need more of a lean forward. They might need to twist the arm a little bit to get the tension in the right part of the deltoid muscle, and all those things. Like, I just think are fascinating. Again, it comes back to the whole loving the science. It's all part of the functional medicine thing. It's just like every little tweak that you can make to get the body to 100%, whether that's a case of someone just wants to look good or someone wants to perform better in work, they want to have more energy. It's what little tweaks can you make along the way. It's all about
refining.
Yeah, refining. Yeah, that's a good word. I like it.
And it was I was just looking at an interview you did there a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
And in the interview, they asked you they were like, what's your guilty pleasure? And you said German volume.
I love it.
That's not a guilty pleasure. Is there at any point, like, we walk past, we got a media drop of a load of chocolate in there, and I'm terrible for that stuff.
Yeah.
Unless I've got something that I have to, I can't, I need to keep the weight down or something I have to train for. Yeah. I'm the worst willpower ever.
Yeah.
So at any point, do you let yourself go, are you human, Fionnula?
Oh, I do. I am, yeah.
But I mean not German volume training though.
No. I'm bad for the chocolate as well.
Mad for the chocolate? You have a sweet tooth?
Yeah, I definitely have a sweet tooth. So, like, yeah, I suppose but at the same time, like, I do like really savoury foods. So, like, I definitely have pizza. I definitely have burgers, and I definitely have chips and chocolate as well.
Is it important to let yourself?
Yeah, definitely. So, like, even
shock the body even a little bit. That's what I'm telling myself.
Yes, no, it absolutely is. Like, I mean, and the thing is, you can't maintain 100% all the time. Now, the thing is, most of the time I don't have the appetite for it because I'm really motivated and all the rest, but at the same time, and that's why it's so good having friends that are who understands it as are doing the same thing as you, because like, say, even with Vinny and I, be like, oh, like, we should have a cheat meal, and we both be like, oh yeah, but like, we should be good, and we're like, no, we deserve it. Like when Vinny won a show, like, of course we have burgers and chips and milkshakes and all sorts of stuff, like, and it was great, but you get it out of your system. You're so strict for a certain period of time, but you do need a little bit of a break, and then that gets you back on track, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. Absolutely not. Now, it's different especially for me, I'm lean, like, I can
you're in good shape, you're healthy.
Yeah, exactly. I might not be completely ripped all the time, but it's normal for it to go up and down. Now, for someone who's overweight, like, then you obviously have to be stricter, like,
And that's one thing I find as well, because when I was training for the fight, I had a lot of people, or when the documentary came out, I had a lot of people come up to me and been like, how'd you get into that kind of shape?
Yeah.
And I was saying this, I was like, you get in a cage, have to fight somebody in 4 months, and like, that's, you need to be terrified a little bit. You need to have the fear a little bit to go from being out of shape, not the out of shape that you think, or that you might think you are, but to somebody who's generally a bit chubby, who's a bit out of shape. You need the fear. Would you agree with that? Do you think most people need that end goal?
They do.
And they need that. That's why people will, for instance, if somebody's going to run a marathon, they'll raise money for charity because you can't back out if you're raising money for charity.
Yeah, exactly. Or putting your progress on Instagram or whatever it is. So yeah, I mean, absolutely, you need to have that. And like, I mean, that would be why a lot of people would come to me, like people who are maybe not well. So again, it's the fear of something down the line, because a lot of what I do is preventive. At the end of the day, what we're trying to do is prevent disease
and educate. Yeah,
exactly. And I suppose when something happens, something like maybe a heart attack, or they get a bad issue with the tummy and they end up in hospital, that's a shock and that's a fear, and that's what motivates people. Like, it was the same for me, like being in the state that I was in, I was like, when I was sick, I couldn't concentrate on college work. I was like, my stomach is in pain, and it's the fear of what's going to happen. Or with my acne, like, am I always going to have this severe acne on my face? And it's that fear that makes you want to change. Whether how much you want to change is up to yourself, but you do have to have a certain fear, whether it's a health goal, a performance goal, whatever it is. I absolutely agree. Yeah.
And where do you see it going? Where do you see the clinic? Where do you see, your physique training? Where do you see the strength and conditioning stuff going?
And I really want to get into more in terms of the coaching.
The coaching.
Yeah, I love it. And so there will be some plans coming up in the future, but I can't really talk about it yet. And in terms of the clinic, like, I mean, I'm kind of at the point now where with one-on-one consultations, there's probably not too many more that I can take on. So I'll be doing a lot more with injections, because it's something that will help people feel better in I suppose it's a quick fix, if anything, and from a time perspective, I don't have the time for that. But again,
you're in the gym.
Well, and employing more staff, like, to be able to help me with the consultations and things. But also, like, I'm loving working with Motivate, and doing the the lectures and the presentations and things.
So what happens with Motivate then? So it's obviously on a case by case basis. Is it where they explain to me? You'll have to fly off somewhere and to a company somewhere? Is that what happens around the world?
We do presentations, for example, with Digicel, Intel, Microsoft, a lot of the big companies globally, in terms of educating the staff in particular.
More productive work environment.
Exactly. More productive work environment, peak performance.
Might have to bring you in here, Fionnula.
Yeah, I think so. You have to get rid of dairy milk though, because I won't be able to control myself. But and it's fantastic. Like, we were in Papua New Guinea there a few months ago now. At this stage, these time flies. And that was amazing. Like, I mean, you just, even little things can help people so much. I'm still getting messages from people, I lost, losing 5 kilos, and all, like, I can't describe like how good it just makes you feel. It's like, oh God, I want to go back there now. And like, it's really rewarding experience. Like, I have to say, it's like nothing else.
And what was the thing in Papua New Guinea? Because I saw you posting pictures about that.
Yeah, so that was with Digicel. That was again, like, there was a big it's a performance. So with Motivate, it's not like your average just giving them nutrition and exercise and mindset advice, because anyone can do that. Like, I can tell someone that Coke's not good for them, and anyone can do that. Is that okay? Yeah, no. Sweeteners. But it's the way it's delivered, and I mean, it's very exciting. It's entertainment. It's entertaining, and again, like Enda McNulty, obviously, who owns the company, is someone who's kind of instilled that in everyone who works for the company, which is great. And that's why it's great to, like, I'm learning so much by being part of the company. But it's, really being able to make a huge change to people, making a lasting change, making people feel motivated, feel inspired to actually make that change. Because we all, like you say, everyone knows what healthy food is. Yeah. We all do. It's what makes the difference between someone who actually incorporates it, or who decides to make a change, versus someone who'll just hear the information and will go in one ear and out the other ear, and they go back to work and it's all the same. And that's like what's made a massive, that's why it's so rewarding, is because you make this lasting change. Like, it's still like, what month we're in now, end of August, and it was, I think, June that we were there, and I'm still getting messages, I'm still like, I'm doing this, or I'm not having, like, simple things like, I'm not having Coke anymore, I'm having water, or I'm stretching at my desk now, or I went for a run the other day. Like, it doesn't mean people have to be going into the gym doing weights like me, but just simple lifestyle things, like taking the stairs up to the next floor to get water. And again, that's something that I would say makes a difference to my life. Is like, I always walk to work. And again, like, I mean, people say that's such a simple thing, but it's not. Like, for the first 6 months of this year, I was working where I couldn't walk to work. I had to get transport, and that made a massive difference to my lifestyle, because I wasn't getting the fresh air in the morning. My mood wasn't as good. I wasn't getting sunlight, even though we don't get much here. But when you don't have that, you realize how much you miss it.
Do you think that's a mistake that people make, that they're not as aware of their moods?
Yeah, awareness is key,
So if somebody's feeling a bit crap, kind of figure out what they maybe, is it to do with their diet, what they had the day before? Yeah. Is it to do with their sleep patterns? Is that something that you'll say? Yeah. People maybe examine, how you've been living.
Yeah, so even in consultation, I'll always ask lots of questions, be like, geez, I never even thought of that. So I'll go into their energy levels, like, for example, are you sleeping through the night? Are you waking up at all? People say, oh yeah, I'm waking up to go to the toilet like a few times. And they think that's normal. It's like, it's not. You should be sleeping the whole way through the night, even if you have to, even if you've drank a little bit of water before you go to bed, you still shouldn't be waking up, because you should be in a deep enough sleep that you're not waking up. You should be waking up feeling refreshed. Most people don't. Most people say, oh, I need a coffee to get me going in the morning. That's not normal. But I suppose that's the thing, if you're in that work environment and everyone else kind of feels the same, you're more likely to just accept it as normal, whereas it's not. Even like bowel habits, going to the toilet once a day, that's normal. Going once every 2 days is not. Or going a few times a day is not normal, unless you have a large volume of food, like a bodybuilder, for example. Obviously, there's exceptions.
It's different. That's a real athlete. That's extreme.
Understanding those little things is what makes all the difference. And a lot of people will say, "Geez, I never even thought of that," or it's super important. Awareness, and even with the intravenous injections, you'll notice there's certain people who will notice a big change. So athletes, for example, they'll notice straight away. They'll be like, oh,
they're acutely aware of.
They're very in tune with their own body. So like again, I had a guy today for injection, and straight away he's like, yeah, the colours appear brighter. I feel more. Yeah, no, that's what everyone says is like colours appear more vibrant and sounds are heightened. So all
there's some people maybe go in a little bit too expectant. So some people think they're going to be Bradley Cooper and limitless.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
that's slightly different, but like, you know, and then I got a text there just before I came here. He's like, oh, you know, I'm feeling so energized mentally, physically, and like, oh, like I feel so good.
That just makes it worthwhile.
Yeah, but again, like I've noticed that, let's say, non-athletes or people who don't let's say have the same awareness in their body don't seem to notice the same change in terms of they wouldn't be as aware.
Yeah, they're so caught up in their daily grind, maybe. Yeah,
exactly. They wouldn't notice the increase in energy that they get, or you know, they might be in the gym. So like a lot of people who train, they'd say, oh, like, oh, geez, I did a PB here, or even myself, I know, okay, I did my injection today, so I should be lifting a little bit more today, or I'll be able to do more volume today. Yeah. You know.
See, one of my biggest regrets is, and I'm 33 now, and one of my biggest regrets is I did all the endurance running in my 20s or my late 20s, thereabouts. And I got into fighting late. Yeah. So I got into fighting at like 30. I started fighting at like 30, 31.
Yeah.
Like properly kind of getting into it. And that's a huge regret for me because I see these young guys now who are just naturally gifted athletes who are going in to do MMA or going in to pursue something that they might be athletically in tune with.
Yeah.
Is that a thing, do you think? Are there people that like are just built for certain sports?
Yeah, for sure. So actually I do a lot of genetic testing as well. I would do genetics around health, but also the sports performance genetics. And I mean, absolutely, like even from my own experience, like I'm, you know, getting on as well. I'm not going to say what my age is, but you know, like from my genetic test, I could tell I was more suited to like relative strength type activity, more capacity for lean muscle mass. Whereas, you know, I was doing endurance swimming for.
What was the endurance swimming that you did? You mentioned
it wasn't endurance. Like it was, I suppose the type of training is competitive. It was competitive swimming. So I did it since I was about 4 until I was 16. Now I did well. Like I mean, I won nationals and things. It was never going to be at the level that I am in terms of strength and conditioning now. You know.
What's the goal then for something like swimming? Is it the ultimate goal of the Olympics?
Yeah, I suppose it would be. Yeah, but wouldn't mean even near.
And that comes down to how you're
I
built.
Suppose
like
genetically, like when you look at the genetic endurance markers, like I was not. It was just average.
But if you look, so if you look at somebody, and I read his autobiography, like somebody like Michael Phelps is like 6'4", 6'5", something like that, and his hands are huge.
Yeah, so he's perfectly
He's built for it, and that goes back to that.
Yeah.
Some people are just genetically built for certain sports. I can take a punch. I think that's why it's the best that I have.
Yeah, exactly. But again, remember, you can have all the best genetics in the world, but if you don't have the right mindset,
you're not going to train properly for them.
Yeah, so again, I did well in swimming, and I always remember, I was actually saying this to someone recently, like in swimming, like at the moment my legs are massive, like, you know, for a female, most females don't have this kind of leg development, but in swimming I would always lap all the men in swimming in kick when you do kicking drills, and everyone used to think, oh, it's just because she's did Irish dancing or something. Like, oh, maybe, but like, you know, in hindsight, like when I did the genetic test, it was like high potential for isometric quad strength. So, that's fascinating. Yeah, and now you see like the development in the quads.
Because that was something that I found when I started training on Roddy and MMA. I found that because I just naturally huge legs from running ultramarathons.
Yeah, well, you might have the same genetic marker.
It's just you just have naturally big legs. Because we see some guys with chicken legs, so not just skipping leg day.
Yeah, well, maybe. Yeah, maybe. But like I say, you can have all the genetics in the world, but you still have to have the mindset to go with it. You know, you still have to train hard.
Yeah.
You still have to be the type of person that's going, like, when the pain kicks in, you're gonna get past that, you know. And like I say, especially in weight training, because that pain is so intense. It's like, especially like shoulders, calves, like the pain is just like, people often see me grunting in the gym, and like it just comes out naturally, you know. You like it's that intense.
It's like on a tennis court when you see it's just giving it
just
everything.
Comes. It just, you can't control it, and it's just all consuming in the body. Like, you know, like I always say, people are like, geez, Fionnula's mad in the gym. You know, like people meet me in the gym are like, geez, she's actually nice, like, in person. Like,
that's not what I expected. It's not just gonna hit me.
Yeah,
she's screaming in the gym.
It's just like you have to go so outside, like into your own little world. But like that pain, like the way I try to get past it is I always say, well, like, that pain is what's making me grow. That pain is like that. You have to see that pain as pleasurable in some sense. In the sense that, okay, the pain is like, that's the blood going into the muscle. That's all the nutrients come to the muscle. It's going to be easier the next time I do it. And you're just like, oh, come on, keep going.
But there's certain people as well that maybe should educate themselves first, because like, you know, if it hurts sometimes as well, that's not a good thing, I suppose.
Like,
that's what I'm telling myself.
Yeah, but a lot of people say, oh, I feel it in the, like, you know, it's like you see a lot of people, they squat or they deadlift, or they do back exercise, like, oh, I feel it in the lower back. And like, sometimes they forget, like, there's muscles in the lower back, and that's muscular pain, you know. That's
you
good.
Can stretch that.
That's the erectors. Now it's obviously different if someone has like a different problem, type of pain, but for most people it's just the erectors kicking in. That's normal, you know. But again, it's awareness, and like, a lot of people are afraid of the lower back, which is fair enough. But yeah, you're right, education as well. And like, that's part of kind of what I see myself doing a little bit more is, I suppose, kind of getting the message out about, you know, like, looking different, you know, having a physique, rather than just being lean, or just, you know, and because that is what most people want. Most people, like, when they hear bodybuilding, they're thinking of Ben Pakulski's, or they're thinking of the big Phil Heath or Kai Green or somewhere. Whereas everyone who goes to the gym, well, not everyone, but most people, like for example in FlyFit, most people are doing bodybuilding. Females are doing bodybuilding. Again, I do bodybuilding, but I don't look massive. Well, I don't think I do. You know, it's a shape, it's a figure, it's something that looks aesthetically pleasing. And like, a lot of people say, oh, like, they look at me and say, oh, I can never look like that. But everyone has the potential. It's just knowing the right things to do. You know, going to the right place to learn how to do that, you know. Because I wasn't happy with, like, I mean, I think I've always been fairly happy with my body, but I always want to make it better. You know, like, powerlifting, it wasn't a nice shape. Like, you know, I couldn't get clothes to fit me. I still can't because the legs are too big. You know what, like, I can still wear my little hot pants in the gym, and but it's not something that looks nice in a dress, let's say. And that's a fear that I think maybe some women have. It's that I don't want to get too bulky, I don't want to get too big. But like, it's, you know, this whole strong is the new skinny thing that's been going around for the past couple of years. That has to be a hugely positive thing. Yeah, so positive. And like I mean, absolutely. Like, I mean, you have to be strong first before you can even, you know, someone who comes from a powerlifting or a strength background, they develop a physique very fast, because the muscle is, because of the how the muscle is developed and the strength they have, they can develop it very fast, which is why I've been able to change my body very fast. You know, people will say it's X, Y, and Z, but it's really just because I come from a strength background. But yeah, I mean, like, the strong over skinny, I think is fantastic. But I still think there needs to be an element of physique there as well, because from powerlifting, you're not going to develop a shape. You know, and like, again, you don't. The female doesn't want to have massive quads either. You want to have a nice glutes as well. So, you know, from doing a lot of heavy squatting and all the time, you will get massive quads in it. It doesn't necessarily.
That's interesting though, because you're saying you keep using the word physique. Like, that's somebody who's in shape, and somebody might be strong. They might have big legs, or they might have big arms. That's different than a physique. Physique is an aesthetic shape. But again, that aesthetic shape is still very strong. So I would even say that since I've been doing this type of training, I'm actually stronger than I was back when I was doing powerlifting, because I was neglecting body parts. I was neglecting the hamstrings. It's more overall now.
It's just more, I suppose, again, it's preventing injury as well. So I'm working on my weak body parts effectively. Because you look at it, you look at Arnold Schwarzenegger. What's he do? He did Olympic lifting, powerlifting, and bodybuilding. He did them all, and he was good at them all. But an aesthetic physique is a strong physique as well. Let's not forget that either. So by me working on my glutes and my hamstrings, which
they're not fake muscles. They're real muscles.
Like, my squat has gone up huge, you know, and like you said, people will say it's other things, but it's really just focusing on those weak body.
What about for people who are maybe getting a little bit older, but, you know, especially with something like MMA now, which is blown up, everybody wants to look like Conor McGregor or
exactly.
So if somebody's in their maybe 30s or 40s, is there a sport, like, I think they say, and this could be a myth, again, I'm a moron, this could be a myth, that some of the best endurance athletes in the world are in their 40s. Is that true from your experience? And
endurance,
did I do it wrong, basically? Should I have done all the MMA years ago?
Well, you know, like, the thing is, like, what level do you want to get to, you know? You know, like, you're doing it at a really good level now, you know, like, you're enjoying it, it's part of your lifestyle, like, you know, there's no age limit on that. if you're looking at strength sports, people get better as they get older. That's like, you know, I was even at a competition 2 years, it was Four Nations last year, and there's a lady in her 60s deadlifting more than me, and she weighed like 10 kilos less than me. Well, I was like, oh my god, like if I was on the bus, I'd probably get up to give her my seat. Like, you know, like that's cool. So endurance sports, I suppose, less so. Because it's so demanding on the body.
It's how you recover, really, is it?
Yes, recovery is going to struggle. Whereas, like with strength, you know, strength is lasting, and you know, the more muscle you have, the more the longer you live. Like that's well documented in the literature. Muscle is anti-aging tissue if there's ever anything that's
like
beneficial.
The sounds of that.
Yeah, exactly.
The benefits are there.
Yeah, you know, they always see people with more muscle mass, they look a little bit younger. So I'm hoping for anyway.
So maybe for you then personally, so for you and, you know, with the businesses and everything else, you mentioned something about fighting before. I know you kind of trained a little bit of MMA.
Yeah.
Is that something that you'd like to do? Is that another goal?
Oh yeah, like I mean, I loved it. So I did a little bit of MMA with Chris Fields, who was
he's fighting in the Bama card now coming up.
Yeah, I know. I'm so excited for him. He's amazing, and wow, he's an amazing coach as well. And I particularly liked the jiu-jitsu. Yeah, that was fun.
Because it's all technique, jiu-jitsu, so technical.
It is, and it's something different as well from my perspective. You know, it's not as I say maybe not as demanding on the body. Well, it is, but you know, not in the same way from a muscular capacity, let's say. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. I suppose it's just a matter of the time.
Yeah. But could you see yourself maybe competing in jiu-jitsu down the line?
I don't know.
If you got good enough.
I mean,
you haven't got much time on your hands, but it's out.
Again, like it is a matter of fitting it all in. I suppose that's why you haven't really been doing it of late. Is just the time. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun.
You mentioned the fighting team when I seen you before, and you were like, you lit up. You were like,
yeah. Oh god, the first time.
I was like, I hope it's not on a par.
Oh yeah, I think I really like when I got it first. I was like, oh my gosh, because for me, I am quite a physical person in the sense that, like, you know, like I feel myself when I'm physically active, like, you know, like when I'm walking or I'm doing anything, and I just feel like I come alive when I'm active. You know, it just feels like it brings that energy out of me. And oh my gosh, the fighting just felt like the most natural thing in the world,
because it's all such lateral movement. And
it does feel like a natural thing for the body to want to do. Now obviously then maybe I saw too many UFC fights and it was very aggressive.
You and everybody else, I think, getting the punch bag in the gym.
Yeah, I know. It's just like the thought of like getting punches to the face. Now that like scared me a little bit. So I'm not gonna lie.
It's when you have to go in and go to meetings and you've got a black eye,
I don't know how my
clients nose, or I know now not to mess with anybody. Not that I ever would have, but not to mess with anybody with cauliflower.
Yeah.
So I started getting cauliflower after about a month, and some people go
really?
years without getting it. I know. Like, this is so unfair.
Yeah. So again, like for me, it's a lifestyle. You know, all of it is a lifestyle, and it has to fit with my lifestyle. But it's
interesting that you said jiu-jitsu though, because it's such a technical. You know, the smartest guys are the best at jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. Well, maybe I'll struggle with that. You can't just work hard at it.
No, but that's not it though. I mean, you can obviously if you set your mind to, because I find I've got terrible short-term memory. Yeah. And I find that when somebody went on, or my coach or somebody will show me something, I find it like I can't repeat it. Yeah. But then if I'm fighting, if I'm sparring, I can do it.
Yeah.
It kind of just goes into the back of I don't know what way my brain works.
Yeah, I used to record them with Chris, so I'd remember, and I just keep watching.
That's a smart idea. That's a really good idea.
Yeah, Chris told me I can't put them on Facebook though, or Instagram or whatever.
I made a mistake of putting something up on Instagram before, and I just had all these people critiquing me underneath, and you're like,
thing, isn't it? Yeah.
Somebody's like your yellow belt in Taekwondo or something. It's like you're doing that wrong with the kick, and you need that. And you're like, oh. But you see that at elite levels. You see like Brendan Schaub and Cathal Pendren and these UFC fighters getting shit for form. You're like, unless you've gone in there and done that.
Yeah, or like even from powerlifting, like you might put up like a squat video and someone will be like, oh, that's not the optimal foot position. It's like, yeah, but I'm trying to work my glutes and my hamstrings, or like I'm doing this type of squat for this reason, or like, and it's
and have you started a blog recently as well?
Yeah, I started up a Facebook blog
because you've got an amazing following on Instagram, and I know you've a lot of publications have done stories on you for the following and for the stuff that you put up there, because I think when a lot of people, they put up pictures of themselves in shape and that'll be it, and that's motivational. I love that stuff. I was like, how do I get that? How do I train like this? But you really break it down. you'll go into details about how and why and how you were feeling that day, and so this is why you decided to start the Facebook blog.
Yeah, because lots of people have been asking me, you know, like, you just like to
how
see
do I get that?
Yeah, exactly. And the fact is, you know, it's a process, like, and it's all different things, and I suppose, again, that's what people had said, you know, like, oh, I like your post, but I'd like to know a little bit more about what you do. And you know, just getting a lot of questions. So yeah, like, it's good, and it's like, you know, it's the type of thing where people are like, oh, like, you know, my business advisor, like, do you have time for this? And I'm like, yeah, because it's just part of my life, like, you know, it's just a case of, you know, just writing it down, and like, if it's going to help people, I'm happy.
And are you Instagram famous? Do you have people coming up to you recognizing you from Instagram?
No.
They're too afraid to go to the gym.
Sometimes, like, I go to a Fresh in Grand Canal Dock, and someone did the other day, like, oh, I saw you on the Instagram homepage. Like, oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. So
you didn't realise you got on the Instagram homepage. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's cool.
And which one was this? Was this something from the photo shoot that you did?
I think it was a squatting video.
Yeah.
I put up a video at 100 kilo squats for reps. I think that was it, maybe.
And I suppose for somebody who's starting, so somebody who's obviously, you know, you're at an elite level, but somebody who's just coming into the gym and maybe wants to do a little bit of yoga, do a little bit of weights, and just kind of, you know, get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
You know, and it might sound cliche, but what's the first piece of advice that you give? Because the gym can be an intimidating place. Even for somebody who, you know, going into a new gym, or if it's busy, like some people just avoid the squat racks, or they just avoid, but they're generally busy anyway.
Yeah,
somebody just avoids the benches. Is it just, you know, you've got a very certain mindset in how you do things, but some people might be a little bit shyer. I'll be a little bit more, you know, meek when it comes to reserved. Yeah,
especially females, you know, it's a hard place to
it can be an intimidating place for anybody.
It is really. But like, the thing I always say is, you know, when you are going to a new gym, the reality is most people are not paying attention to anyone else. They're kind of too focused.
That's a mistake that people make.
Yeah, like, because they'd be like, oh God, like, I, you know, and I was there as well. You know, I did go to the gym for the first time, and I was always like, oh, I don't want to go to the men's section, or like, I don't want to go to the weights in case anyone's seen it, or I kind of go at the back. I don't really know what I'm doing, so I'm just gonna, like, I remember one time in the Trinity gym, I was doing some arm weights, and one of my friends from college was like, you look like an air hostess doing those things.
I was in flight fit, I was hitting the tire. I was doing strength and conditioning for fighting, and I was hitting the tire, and I think I saw a gun on Elton doing. I was like, I'm gonna try this. That's generally where I get them from. And I was like, I'm gonna try this. This looks like it's good. You know, I did a little bit of research on it, but some lady came over to me. I'm sure you probably know her. And she came over to me and she was like, you know, she was lovely. She was like, but you need to, and she was like,
I did that as well. And she came over to me as well.
She's the same lady.
And
so I remember,
like, oh, this looks cool.
And I was like, and then I started doing it. I was like, oh God, she's right. Thanks.
I think the exact same thing happened to me when I first went to fly.
She's obviously the expert tire killer.
Yeah, she must be. I think I know who that is.
But that's awesome though, that like people can see that as well and be like, and it's important probably for people as well not to get defensive. It's somebody who knows for the most part and just wants to help. Like,
and like, it is no harm. Like, I mean, I would say now, like, to get someone to go through the basics with you. Like, I mean, that's what I did. So
that's huge when you join a gym, book a program.
Because like a lot of, like, I was the same as well. I just like, oh, I just want to go in and like do my training, just go on the treadmill or whatever, because like that's how I started going to the gym, as I was running, and someone came up to me like, oh, you know, maybe you should book in for a chat with someone, and that's what it went from there, to be honest. You know, and it is worth doing that, because once someone's kind of even showed you around the gym, or showed you the right way to do it, you know where it is, and you know you're doing the right thing, so you already have that little bit of confidence. That means, okay, well, like, someone told me how to do this, so I know what I'm doing. And again, like, just remember that people are not paying attention to anyone else.
Nobody gives a shit about your workout for the most part.
Nobody cares. Like, they're too involved in their own training, man, their own selves, and watching themselves in the mirror, like, you know. So honestly, like, that's what I say to a lot of girls, like, nobody's paying attention. Like, do your own thing, and half the people don't know what they're doing either. So you know, I would say get someone to do the introductory program, and they go from there. And I mean, if like every time they want to progress, then they get another program. I think
get another program and just up it and up it and up it.
And not to do the same thing all the time. Even with diet, I always say, like, you know, people say, oh, I'll just go low carb, or I'll go high carb, or I'll carb cycle. The reality is, in the same way as you change the training program, you should be changing the nutrition program as well. You know, a lot of people say, well, like, whatever you do is working.
Abs amazing in the kitchen.
Yeah, exactly. And for the most part they are, but there's other bits and, you know, you can't do the same diet all the time. It's not going to work, because you have different requirements, even summer and winter. Females with the menstrual cycle, it changes, you require different amounts of different foods, so it is worth changing the diet around all the time. Like, I do that myself as well, and
it works for you, so it can work at any level.
And like I said, you know, you have different requirements at different times, so Yes.
Okay, so before we let you go, then you've got the clinic, Invigorate Clinic.
Yep.
You've got the blog. What's the blog called? How can people find it?
It's just facebook.com /Dr. Fionnula.
Dr. Fionnula. You should trademark that, Dr. Fionnula.
Yeah, Vinny keeps saying that to me.
I kept calling you Dr. As I could see in the gym. Like, all right, Dr. Fionnula, what's the story?
Oh no, Vinny says to do Dr. F.
Dr. F, that's it. That's cool. You could get one of those shows. Like they have that show on in the States, don't they? The doctors.
Yeah, the doctors. Yeah, maybe I'll get a gig on there sometime.
And you've got Instagram as well. What we'll do is we'll throw your Twitter and Instagram up on the piece.
Cool,
so
that'd be awesome.
people can follow you and be motivated by you.
I hope so.
I certainly am, Fionnula. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Mike. It's a pleasure.